Hi everyone, it's Madison with Future Farm Hemp in Baldwin, and today we're going to be talking about how hemp can support horses and in turn their owners, so you guys. We all know it's discouraging to see our pets and the animals we love so much in any pain or suffering, and it can feel discouraging when medication either doesn't work the way it should, maybe isn't available, or as an absolute worst case scenario actually does more harm to them in the long run than it would have initially. So we're really excited about CBD and what it can do for our equine pals because we've recently been able to do more research into it and we're seeing some really promising results. So talk a little bit about that today. Horses, just like us, and cats and dogs all have a system that processes cannabinoids, and that will be like CBD or THC. So we'll use CBD as an example. And what that system is an endocannabinoid system, and it's essentially made up of receptors all throughout our bodies that sends information to our brain. So stress, pain, inflammation, a lot of the symptoms that go along with anxiety, all sent to our brains so it can send out the appropriate response. It checks at a cellular level, at a very microscopic level, whether or not there's an issue, and it plays into every other system in our body, our digestive system, our immune system, when we sleep, what we eat, it all goes together. Scientists actually only discovered in the 1990s, so very recently in the grand scheme of things, that humans and animals have an endocannabinoid system, and recently just learned how similar those systems truly are. We can draw some conclusions based on how other animals and humans, because we are animals, are reacting to CBD, especially over long periods of time. As with any new medication or supplement or anything of the like, it is important to have long-term studies so we can really assess what's going on in our bodies and in their bodies for the long term, because that's the goal, right? Horses, as they are very sensitive creatures. They have a huge capacity for emotion. They're highly intelligent. And without getting in too deeply, the emotional range of horses is often overlooked because they're just such a large animal. I, at least growing up, always assumed that horses are just horses as they are. They kind of fit a template. But as we all know, that's not the case, as it's not with humans or cats or dogs either. So things like separation, loud noises, sudden change in environment, trying to trailer a horse can be difficult. We're working with a few people that have had to try doing some maintenance, hoof trimming, things of the like that are necessary for your horse's health over the long term and in the short term. And it doesn't always have to be a day-long ordeal. A lot of the anxiety that comes from those things can be tempered a little bit, and it can be natural. It doesn't always have to be some full-fledged medication put on to try to get that anxiety response under control. Chronic stress impacts the rest of the body. Again, in humans as it does in horses, considering the fact that they're highly sensitive and are really receptive to their surroundings. Not much gets past them if you've ever spent any time with horses, big or small. So like I said, chronic stress impacts the rest of the body, and horses don't actually need this gargantuan dose of CBD like you would assume. When I first got into the industry, I assumed a big animal means a big dose of CBD. A smaller animal or person needs less, right? And typically, you would think that's the rule, but they don't actually need a giant dose to be effective. Their metabolism is much slower, their heart rate is slower, so things moving through their body move at a much slower rate than ours do. So you would actually, the size difference doesn't make that much of a difference when it comes to horses, so their dosage is actually equivalent to that of ours. You can start pretty slowly and actually see some results almost instantaneously in most cases. There are tinctures. I talked about those in the last video. They're really popular for humans to use because they are placed sublingually under the tongue. That skin is incredibly sensitive, and it actually is a gateway to our bloodstream. So anything that goes under your tongue actually has direct access and will be effective rather quickly. They work in horses the same way they work for us. So tinctures, gels, that can be given either orally or topically. So you're trying to get on top of a skin condition, a topical solution to that would be best because you're targeting the very specific area in which the issue is residing. If you prefer them to ingest it for more of an overall effect, that would be things like anxiety, stress, environmental changes that they're not quite used to yet. And then hemp pellets is another thing that we've recently delved into a little bit. Everyone knows what horse pellets look like if they get them daily, every other day. You can actually use that as more of a long-term solution or a long-term treatment plan. And that can be given in small doses every day because it actually residually builds up in the body. So the more consistent you are, again, both in humans and in horses, the more likely you are to see a positive reaction and a longer effect. So CBD paired with positive environmental changes, making them more comfortable, really addressing the root issue of what's going on, can be extremely helpful in managing a lot of these conditions for them. It's definitely not a miracle cure. As with anything, I would highly recommend speaking to a vet if you're concerned at all. Or maybe your horse has never been introduced to CBD and they're not quite sure how their system will react. Conditions like skin issues, like I mentioned before, immune issues play a lot into that, allergies. Digestive problems as well. Getting everything down to a homeostasis state is really the goal because we want our bodies to work the way they're supposed to, right? They shouldn't need a lot of intervention, and the goal here is to start with a low dose and then work your way up to what is needed. So you can always back off, you can always change brands, you can change flavors, consistency. It's all yours to play with. But I would recommend staying on the same method of treatment for a couple weeks at a time to really see the effect. You know, like I said, you take a gummy vitamin and you're not going to see a result in 15 minutes. It's the same with CBD or anything hemp related. You're going to need a few days to really let that settle in your system and let your body respond accordingly. Every horse is different, just like every human being is different. And we're finally living in a time where the standard dose of heavy painkillers or mood stabilizers doesn't have to be the first mode of transportation, the first mode, your first option, or the only option that you're given. So there are other options that your horse may respond to more naturally, CBD being one of them. If you have any questions about how this works or if it could possibly help you or your horse at any given point, please send it our way and we will go over what options you have available. It's a really exciting time. Our horses don't necessarily need to suffer in silence if we can figure out what the root of the problem is, and it's our job to help guide you to that. So any questions, shoot it my way, Facebook, Instagram. You can always give us a call as well. We're located on 8th Avenue in Baldwin, and we'd absolutely love to speak to you guys. So give us a call. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.